Welcome back, Endgame community. I'm Pierre. He's Chris. We're here to help you with some lineup advice for Week 7. Give you our must-start running backs, as we always do. So let's get into it, and don't forget to stay tuned. As always, we have another shirt giveaway. We'll tell you about that a little bit later on in the video. Let's get to the running backs. Chris, who's first up to bat?
Well, I called this guy a must-start last week. I'm not changing my mind this week, and that is Darrell Williams of the Kansas City Chiefs. Got that starting job due to the Clyde Edwards-Helaire injury and ran with it. Played 72% of the snaps, had 21 of the 24 running back carries, and even got half the running back targets, not to mention all the goal line work. Scored 2 touchdowns. Now going against Tennessee, not a defense you should be scared of at all in any stretch. This could be another game where Kansas City is, up 2-3 scores, and they're just leaning on Darrell Williams to run out the clock. He's going to get goal line opportunities. On a week like this, with so many players on buys, with so many big running backs on injuries, he's almost a top 12. I mean, he might even be a top 12, top 10 running back this week, but he is absolutely a must-start running back.
Yeah, I really didn't expect a whole lot last week. Definitely caught me by surprise. Of course, the 2 touchdowns help, but still seems to be a little bit of juice there with Darrell Williams, so keep him going. And you hit the nail on the head. This week, it was really, really bad for running backs. As if 6 teams on bye wasn't enough. Then we have basically half of the RB1s are injured. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of guys you feel like are really, really strong must-starts. And you know what? I might shock you here. I've come around on Darrell Henderson. He's absolutely a must-start. I think he's going to be a top 10 running back this week. So first of all, the obvious, it's the Lions. That definitely will help. They can run the ball quite a bit. Don't think they're going to have to put their foot on the gas pedal too much with the passing game. But also, I mean, if you just look at how Henderson has performed this year, he's 11th among running backs in market share for his team's carries. And so really, Sonny Michel is there, but he's not a threat. We thought he might be. He just isn't. It's Henderson when they have the ball and they're looking to run the ball. It's Henderson, right? Also, more importantly, he's tied for 6th in money zone rush attempts. That's inside the 10-yard line. Henderson's getting a lot of opportunities to score. And of course, this team, just in general, is going to put up a lot of points on the board. Against Detroit, you have to figure Henderson's good for at least a touchdown, if not 2. So absolutely, you have to start Henderson. And dare I say, he might be a must-start the rest of the season. All right, we're going to get into more running backs. First, give us a second and hit that like button. We definitely appreciate it if you like this content. All right, Chris, who's your next running back?
Yeah, on a week like this with 6 teams on bye and so many running backs injured, I've got to consider Mike Davis a must start. I get it. He hasn't had a massive ceiling this year, but he's been okay. He's getting you 10, 11, 12 points every week. But this week, going against your Dolphins, giving up the 11th most rushing yards. They've given up 7 touchdowns to running backs on the ground this year. I think Mike Davis can find the end zone again this week. I think he can get 60, 70 yards on the ground in such a good matchup. Again, you look at the week 6 running backs, it's terrible. This is probably going to be the worst week we have. The week 7 running backs. It's going to be the worst week we have this fantasy season as far as running backs go. So in week 7, with all these teams on bye, Mike Davis has to be a must-start running back.
These days against the Dolphins, it's basically must stream against. And you might notice, yes, the Dolphins hat is gone. It's not me putting a brown paper bag over my head. This was Chris's suggestion, yes, that if the team loses, if they lose to the Jaguars, which they did, that in shame I should replace with a Jaguars hat. I actually dusted off my old Jaguars hat. Dolphins hat will come back soon, don't worry. But speaking of the Dolphins, you know what? Might as well roll out every running back you can against them, and that includes Cordarrelle Patterson, a receiver playing running back. And you know what? We had this debate before as far as between Davis and Patterson. I actually prefer Patterson because he is a receiver. And you know what? He isn't just one of the better receivers on the Falcons, which isn't saying much, but still, he is the 3rd leading receiver on that team behind Pitts and Ridley. He actually has the same number of red zone targets as Ridley. He has the same number of red zone targets as Devontae Adams. This is a guy who is going to see the end zone more often because that's how he's being used. People say touchdown regression. He's not going to keep scoring touchdowns as much. Yeah, he is if they keep using him near the goal line. Okay, so Davis does have, a little bit of upside in terms of rushing because he's getting more red zone carries and money zone carries too. So look, Davis could definitely score. I think Patterson could easily score, and he has that nice floor based on the fact that he's a pass catcher, one of the main pass catchers still for that team. We don't know if Russell Gage is going to come back. It really doesn't matter. It's the Dolphins, one of the worst pass defenses, sadly, in the league. So yeah, roll out both these running backs against them. Why not? All right, we're going to keep going. But first, let's talk about that giveaway. Mentioned it earlier on. So it's a tough week for running backs. We know that. I did talk about Darrell Henderson, but you know the interesting thing about that game? You have the Rams and the Lions, and well, it just so happens that, yeah, Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford facing off against each other in, I guess, a revenge game for at least one of them, if not both. I guess it's really more a revenge game for Goff. But either way, we thought it'd be fun. So we know Goff is kind of on the hot seat in terms of being a starter. Stafford looks like he might be one of the top quarterbacks in the league this year, especially this week. So let's think about this. How much better do you think Stafford's going to do against the Lions than Goff would do against his former team, the Rams? We're going to ask you, what is the difference going to be between Stafford and Goff's passing yardage in Week 7 when the Lions face the Rams? Give us your answer by leaving a comment below on this video. Whoever gets closest wins a free shirt, courtesy of Bear Clothing, one of our proud sponsors. So let us know, give us a comment, the difference in passing yardage between Stafford and Goff this week. All right, on to the running backs again. Another must start for you, Chris.
Love that contest, by the way. That's an awesome creative contest. But back to the running backs. And again, I'm going to go with a guy that I'm normally not going to recommend, but on a week like this, you have to start James Conner. So if you look at the 3 games where Arizona has won by 3 or more scores, he's had 16, 18, and 16 carries. So obviously very game script dependent. Well, they're playing Houston. I have a good feeling they'll be up by 3 or more scores in this game. Houston giving up the second most rushing yards of any team in the league and a league high 11 touchdowns. Connor's been making his living by scoring touchdowns. He does it again in Week 7. Again, with all these buys and all these injuries, James Conner is a must start in Week 7.
Yeah, so last week, for that exact reason you mentioned, had Conner as a must sit, and sure enough, he didn't do anything. This week, for the exact same reasons, game script dependent, you want to roll him out. I mean, again, keep saying that running back is just so thin this week. So I don't know exactly how thin it's going to be, but if Antonio Gibson misses time, it's getting even worse. Gibson, left the game, came back in. He's been dealing with this stress fracture in his shin, getting an MRI, which is never good news. So even if it comes back with no terrible news, there's a chance that either he is limited or just sits out this game because they just need to get him healthy. So I'm feeling the fact that they're going to need to get other backs involved. And J.D. McKissic, of course, is the first that comes to mind. He has season high rush attempts last week already, which was just 8. But, we don't care about what he's going to do running the ball. He's a pass catching back, and that gives him a nice floor. Well, going against the Packers this coming week, a good chance they're going to need him quite a bit. So I like McKissic this week. Again, I realize the ceiling isn't super high, but I mean, it got slim pickings this week, all right? It's just, that's the way it is. And so, again, keep a close eye on the injury report for Washington football team, see what Gibson's status is. But McKissic, I kind of like anyways as a low-end RB2 based on the matchup. All right, before we finish up with our final must-start running backs, guys, if you want to support us for everything we do all season long, you can do that by becoming a patron. Check out the description below for more information on that. Trying to keep expanding this great community we have. We always appreciate your support. All right, Chris, one more running back you like in Week 7.
I really like Chuba Hubbard this week. That first game that McCaffrey missed, he was a little disappointing. I know he's a little disappointing this past week, but he had 2 drops, right? Could have been a bigger day. But I really like him in Week 7 going up against the Giants. He's had 46 touches over the last 2 games. And surprisingly, this Giants defense is really bad, but they're really bad against the run, allowing the 4th most yards to running backs. So I think Chuba Hubbard has a big day on the ground. I also think he gets mixed in the passing game enough and hopefully doesn't drop the ball for your fantasy team. Hopefully comes through in that aspect. Another good week ahead for Chuba Hubbard. And like I said, on a week like this, he's definitely a must-start running back.
Absolutely must start. Looking like a really solid hold. Anybody who picked him up and thought, get 1 or 2 good weeks out of him. Now it looks like you're going to get several games. Who knows with CMC, that whole situation. And for my final hit, I will go back to an oldie but goodie, and that's Damien Harris. On a weekly basis, you either love him or hate him based on how you think the Patriots are going to do. It turns out the Patriots are just going to be really close in every game, whether they face a really, really good team or a really bad team. Somehow they've managed to barely scrape by against teams like Houston, while also barely losing to teams like Tampa and Dallas. Not sure how that works. But anyways, Harris is going against the Jets, and that's definitely good for him because positive game script, you've got to think they're going to run the ball. And the Jets are a team that is one of the worst in terms of run defense, but they're actually pretty good against the pass. So I think we're going to see a lot of Harris. Look, you have to be encouraged by the fact that he's still getting the ball quite a bit. Of course, another 100-yard game against the Cowboys, which is impressive already, but 20 plus carries now, we've seen that he will get the vast majority of the touches. And Ramondre Stevenson, he got, 5 rush attempts last week. He's not eating into Harris's touches, so don't worry too much about that. He only got that touchdown because Harris was banged up temporarily. So you got to love Harris's touchdown upside. You got to love the fact that he's getting all this work, and you got to love the fact he's facing the Jets. So yeah, this week he's an absolute must start for me. All right, those are our running backs for week 7 that we like the most. Let us know what you think. Of course, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and consider joining our community. We have a free Discord. Already mentioned the Patreon, all sorts of ways to get involved. We definitely would love for you to join the Endgame community. All right, guys, good luck in week 7.